Hello turtles! When building an engine, there are several traps that you must be aware of and do your best to avoid. I have fallen victim to most of these traps and recovered. Learn from my efforts and stories so you can build an engine that suits your needs faster. Building stuff you don't need. Building stuff you don't need. Perhaps the most common trap is building all the stuff you don't need for your game. You start with the best of intentions to get the engine built so later you can remain focused on the game. After falling for this trap for years, literally 2007 to 2010, I finally clawed my way out by changing how I approach engine development. I always have a game being developed alongside the engine. What is the purpose of your game engine? To make games. Even if you are building an engine to learn the technical details, the purpose of that engine is to build games. To ensure this happens, you should be building games with your engine from the very start. Once your engine has the core loop, some form of audio, visuals, and player input, you can build a game. It doesn't matter if the visuals are only colored quads, the audio is beeps and boops, or if the input is a single button. These are all limitations you may wish to improve on for future games, but it will allow you to develop a game at the same time as the engine. The real issue with this trap is the number of things your game doesn't actually need. Games are developed with a highly iterative process. You may start with a solid idea, but that idea will morph into a vastly different game as development continues. This would mean the engine features you thought you needed at the start will have shifted by the end of the project. By building the features as you actually need them, you do not slow down development with the unused features. Restarting over and over. Another common trap is restarting everything from scratch again and again. While this helped me practice code architecture and try new things, it also took years to recover from. Prior to 2012, I scrapped and restarted countless engines, some in DirectX, some in OpenGL, and some worked with both. A fair bit of this trap was combined by not creating games while building the engine as mentioned in the first trap. Effectively, each engine feature I was playing with had an isolated tech demo that was used to build it. This demo would show that that feature works, but only in separation from everything else. When attempting to combine the demos, I would fall flat on my face, and this would provoke me into restarting everything in the engine again. While it was good to practice code architecture by trying various things and seeing what patterns worked, it didn't progress the development of games directly. Some experimenting will be unavoidable, but remember you can refactor a system and you don't need to restart everything over and over. If you don't like how game code has to tell the audio system to play a sound, you can change just the audio system and keep moving forward. Not invented here. Another easy trap to fall into is trying to do everything yourself. Some people start with APIs of the platform they wish to support, and others will extend Unity or Unreal to make their specific genre of game. There is no hard line where things magically become a game engine or not. All that matters in the end is whether or not it works for you. However, you don't need to do everything yourself. SDL, SFML, and other libraries will handle platform specifics automatically for you. Sean Barrett has a great collection of single-file libraries on GitHub that helped me with loading images and decompressing OGG audio files. I was also tempted to write my own JSON parser, and truth be told, there are reasons I still may, but for now I use Nolman's JSON library. I think the best way to avoid the trap is to make sure to use other libraries once in a while to keep moving forward with your other features. If you are always saying no to something, then you are likely stuck in the not invented here trap. If instead you sometimes say yes and use an existing library, you are less likely to be stuck too deeply in the trap. I enjoy the low-level details, and this may or may not help me avoid this trap at all times. Sunk cost fallacy. Sunk cost fallacy is about feeling like you can't change direction because of all of the effort and time spent to this point. Let me be blunt. Building an engine from scratch will take a significant amount of time. There is no getting around this. You will be learning and experimenting with new techniques, patterns, or features. After months or years, you will get attached to your baby and may start defending from scrutiny that there are other ways to build games. You can always change direction and should remain open to doing so. Just because you spent 2 years building games with your own engine doesn't mean you can't switch to using something else. In fact, you will have improved with all the programming skills practiced, and that transfers to other engines and tools. This year, I challenged myself to jump into Unity again and build to accelerate in just a few weeks. This helped me explore how a different workflow could fit into the future of my business creating racing games. I think it is important to explore other alternatives from time to time just to keep on top of this trap. For me personally, I enjoy the low-level nitty-gritty bits that come with building my own engine. Unity, Unreal, and other similar engines take that away, but undeniably makes it far faster and easier to go from concept to release. During my experimenting with Unity, I also found tools that will eventually make their way into my engine, so even if it doesn't convince you to switch, there are still things you can learn. I don't know how. Often on stream I get asked, how do I make games? And my answer is typically, just do it! Really though, just get started with something. If you have no idea where to start, or need to refresh the knowledge, then reading a book, an article, or watching a video tutorial can help. You don't need to watch every video or read every article. Don't bother trying to find the best source of information, just use a couple and get on with it. If your information sources are conflicting, like showing two different ways to solve the same problem, then hopefully they gave you the pros and cons for each solution. If not, don't get stuck with indecision. Just pick one and get started. The choice is not permanent. If you find it doesn't work well, you have learned something and can continue on in the other direction. Code quality matters. When building games or any software, writing quality code is of great value. In some projects it matters more than others. Prototyping is the one place code quality has far less weight than getting things done quickly. I am likely to have an in-depth video on this topic one day, so make sure to subscribe for those details. Prototyping is specifically to answer if an idea is fun or if a feature is feasible as quickly as possible. With a game, you can get away with a bit less code quality than you can with an engine, because typically an engine is built to make many games. Those shortcuts you take now will bite hard later. Prior to 2012, I had been trained that quantity is far more important than quality. Get everything done yesterday was how it worked in college and most of the game industry. This usually meant things were built from hack on top of hack, and bugs were incredibly difficult to chase down. 2012 changed this mindset for me almost overnight. A technical director I worked with stressed the importance of code quality. It was stated that we programmers take the time to refactor when necessary, rather than keep shoving features on top. This was an adjustment, but months later when another programmer and I ripped out a large portion of the game engine to replace it with different technology, the reasons were clear. It only took 2 weeks to replace something that would have ended almost all other projects I had worked on. When TurtleBrains was started, the quality of code was a very important factor to me. I vowed this would be my last engine to avoid the restarting trap, and I believe it has worked out largely because of the care in maintaining good quality code, rather than just adding quick fixes and patchwork on top. I read some material on API design and coding standards. Do set up some coding standards for yourself. Those standards are not all about code style, though may contain some of that too. Many items are about protecting the programmers from bad practices or to reduce bugs when a simple rule can help. If you are building a new feature, it is okay to prototype it within game code before eventually moving it into the engine project. This is exactly how I approached the shadows in Rally of Rockets. I started by adding shadow mapping to the game project, and after it was all done and working, I began to improve the code quality while moving it into the engine. Negative social pressure. It really doesn't matter how you choose to work on your game. You can use an engine and save yourself a lot of time and energy, or build your own for the benefits I covered in this video. That said, a lot of developers seem it's necessary to look down upon building your own engine. You will have to wear a thicker skin for those comments to not let them get you down. To deal with this, it is pretty important you know and understand the reasons for your choice to build an engine. Using an engine is certainly easier and faster to get moving, but that doesn't mean you can't build games with your own engine or have good reasons for doing so. Paths less traveled are often the most worthwhile. People will say you can't do X, Y, or Z in your engine, and the truth is you might not even aim to do X, Y, or Z. If you will never make a cel-shaded game, why would your engine need support for cel shading? Also, if you do use an engine, people will just change the tune to, why don't you use a different engine? As they did when I tried using Unity for the month of April. Haters are gonna hate. It doesn't matter how you build games or how you approach building an engine. There are trade-offs to all decisions in life, so do what works best for you. If you find yourself unsure which is best, Just start with something and you will learn along the way. Please give this video a thumbs up if you enjoyed it, share it with others who may be stuck in one of these traps, and subscribe for future game development tips and techniques. Until later, turtles, have a good one. What is the purpose? Hi.